Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and in this video I want to cover for you guys the best way to farm the important materials when it comes to upgrading your gear. There are a lot of different places you can get these, there's different difficulties that you can do, but my goal in this video is to cover for a solo player what are the most, easy ways to grind out these materials that we need for upgrading both our weapons and our armor to that masterwork status that makes them functional. If you masterwork weapons, again, you'll be getting those orbs to drop, which everybody always needs. Masterworking armor allows you to have that 10 energy that you can use to apply as many mods as possible to any piece of armor. Those currencies are enhancement cores. You need those for both weapons and armor. These are what you use to masterwork weapons. This is also how you get started in masterworking armor, but when you get into the higher levels of armor, you also are going to need enhancement prisms, and you're also going to need Ascendant Shards. So I'm going to go through my top 10 list from least favorite to easiest of ways to grind out all of these materials for a solo player, and then at the end I'm going to have a couple caveats for higher difficulty and a currency that you can use to make this easier. But before we do, a word from our sponsor. Are you not sure what to do in Destiny right now? Having to get a little creative with your time? Well, today I have just the answer for you. Pick up your phone and download Raid Shadow Legends, which is available on both iPhone and Android. You may have heard about this game before, but let me tell you from personal experience, it really does have it all. Do you enjoy leveling up characters, collecting loot, epic battles, and a huge voice-acted story campaign, plus over 500 different champions to build out your team? With dungeons, faction wars, PvP arenas, clan boss battles, you'd think there would be enough, but no. They added an in-game, and that is called the Doom Tower. Long ago, the Arbiter fought off tons of horrible monsters created by Seroth. But as she's not a god, she had to create a prism to keep these monsters from roaming free. Well, the Doom Tower is that prison, and unfortunately, after all this time, the walls seem to be cracking, and we are at risk of letting all these terrible creatures roam free. So it's time to pick your champions, level up, and keep these prisoners behind bars. So if you want a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description, and you'll get an epic hero, Kanaru, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you're in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here in your inbox, but this offer is only valid for new players for the next 30 days. So what are you waiting for? Download Raid Shadow Legends and look me up in game under Ebontis. I'll see you in Teleria. So for number 10, we have Spider Bounties. These are the wanted bounties on the second row, as you guys can see here. They do drop enhancement cores, but unfortunately, to get these bounties, you need ghost fragments, and that is a currency that you actually have to go grind for on the Tangled Shore. You get ghost fragments by either doing public events, patrols, lost sectors, so you have to go do other activities to accumulate this currency, then you come back here, buy the bounty, then you go wherever it tells you, like this one for example says go to the European Dead Zone, go to the Lost Sector, the Quarry, and probably beat the boss in the Lost Sector to get 1 enhancement core. The time that you put into one of these bounties is not worth your time for an enhancement core. There are much better options, and that is why this is at number 10. I wanted to show you, but it's not where I would spend my time. Speaking of not spending things, also please don't spend right here. 30 legendary shards for enhancement core isn't horrible if you're rolling in legendary shards. You are capped at 5 per day, so if you have a crap ton of legendary shards, you can use them here. But if you don't, my advice, save your shards if you need them for like Xur or pretty much anything else. And definitely please don't spend 400 legendary shards for a prism. It's not worth it. So number 9 is specifically going to be Gambit Reputation Rewards. Yes, you can technically get cores and prisms from doing this, but it takes spending a lot of time in Gambit, and that's just something a lot of people don't want to do. Now, if you really enjoy Gambit, my advice is to try and find a couple of other people to play with you to make that time more manageable and also help you get some more wins if you can coordinate some strategies better. But most people solo queuing into Gambit to work on upping your reputation is going to be a very long slog, and not a lot of people want to do it. And the first time you work through your reputation, you're only getting 1 core and 2 prisms, and then eventually you will get 1 Ascendant Shard, which is worth grinding for once because there's not a lot of sources for these, but it is a very long grind, so it's something you want to spread out over the course of the season, not something you want to just spend a day on doing over and over. Now, when you increase your reputation up to max level, which is 16, and you reset it, you go back to rank 1. When you reset it, the reputation will look different. Instead of having a shader and say like a cosmetic ghost projection in here, and also the weapon, you will exchange those now for cores and another set of cores, prisms and another set of prisms, and then you'll either have the ornament for the pursuit weapon, or you'll just have an exotic engram at the end of your grind. So taking yourself through reputation, it's going to happen over time, but you can't make it go any faster besides basically either doing higher difficulty strikes or winning matches in Crucible and Gambit. So all of these reputation rank ups are slow, but Gambit is the worst by far. Now, number 8 is weapon parts. When you dismantle a weapon, you get a few weapon parts, and you'll slowly accumulate those over time. The only place to use weapon parts is right here at Banshee, and if you turn in 100 weapon parts, you get a chance at 1 engram. Now, the engrams at any vendor, Gambit, Vanguard, Crucible, all have a chance to drop a piece of gear. They all also have a chance to drop an enhancement core. Now, are you going to get it every time? No. And as this is 100 weapon parts, to get 1 drop, it is going to be a slow grind for this, but every so often you are going to get an enhancement core from the actual weapon engram that you just open in itself. So you get an enhancement core and a weapon. Every so often, that's a good drop. Not a very reliable source, but it is one of those things I did want to mention for you guys. So weapon parts at Banshee, that's number 8. So the next thing that's going to happen is every time you dismantle a piece of gear, you get a couple of things. You're usually always going to get Gunsmith materials and legendary shards. Those are always going to be beneficial to you. The shards will help you in basically everything that you do. Gunsmith materials, we already discussed where you're going to use those. But every so often when you dismantle a piece of gear, you're just straight up going to get an enhancement core by dismantling a piece of legendary gear. I don't think it happens really from blues very often, but legendaries, you also get a lot of those. So every so often, just dismantling a piece of gear gets you that enhancement core. So it's important to make sure as you're picking up gear, if you don't like it, dismantle it. Could be getting that core that you're waiting for. Don't forget about that one. So number 8, just dismantle gear is a chance at a drop. It's a low chance. That's why it's not very high on this list. So number 6 is Iron Banner Armor. And what it's going to do is the new sets of Iron Banner Armor grant a chance to receive an Enhancement Prism as a reward at the end of match. And each piece of armor you are wearing will increase the chance, and it caps out at the maximum chance that you can get from this at 4 pieces of armor, so you can actually still wear an exotic while you're playing Iron Banner. Now, I know not everybody loves Iron Banner, but just by playing matches and having an Enhancement Prism have a chance to drop is still a really good thing. So as you go through Iron Banner, at least save 4 pieces of armor, 1 in 4 different slots, so you can have this chance while you're playing through this mode, because, it's still good to do the bounties and get your tokens and all of that stuff for Iron Banner. So remember, if you have the Iron Banner armor, make sure you're wearing it when you play, and you get that chance to get those prisms to drop. Pretty low effort, and just it is an RNG chance, and it could be very low, but it's still a chance to get a prism, which is still a very good thing. Now, before we get into the top 5, I did want to cover some things about the ghosts that you are going to want to know that are going to tie into most of the stuff that we're doing. And getting experience is always going to help you level up your season pass, but if you get to a certain point, you may not need those, and you may care more about other things like these currencies. This last column over here is going to help you grind for those currencies, because whether it's Crucible, Gambit, you don't really get a whole lot, or Vanguard, you get chances at enhancement cores or enhancement prisms by these activities. When it comes to Crucible, Precision Final Blows in Crucible have a chance to award an Enhancement Prism if you want to spend 6 energy, or Enhancement Cores if you want to spend 4. So if you're spending time in Crucible, spending time in Iron Banner, whatever it is, you can get a chance at those currencies. Gambit is harder, because if you defeat an invader in Gambit, doesn't come up that often, there's only a couple, they may kill you first, it's not easy to do. You might get a core that way. Same thing, a prism as the same way. So the Gambit one is very unreliable, very low chances, not anything I usually even remember to switch over to. For Vanguard, which is what we're going to get into as kind of more of my favorite activities, defeating bosses, which can be mini bosses, the final boss, in the Vanguard Strike playlist, which is match-made, Nightfalls, half of which are match-made, and all PvE, so you can't lose, have a chance to reward an Enhancement Core at 4, or an Enhancement Prism if you go all the way up to 6. So just by beating a boss and having a chance at a random prism drop while you're working on all the other stuff I'm going to be talking about, do not forget about your ghost, because it's going to help you be much more efficient in all of these different activities that you do. If you go spend some time in PvP, throw on one of the Crucible buffs. If you spend time in Strikes, go throw on one of the Vanguard buffs. If you spend time in Gambit, more power to you, but that's probably not where I'm going to be, but that's just my personal preference. All right, so number 5 is going to be Vanguard. Reputation ranks are going to work the same way. When you're first passing through the reputation ranks in the season, you're going to have, the core, the shader, the prism, the cosmetic. You'll get the pursuit weapon and a shard. And then when you reset, you're going to get the shader and the cosmetic exchange for those double currencies. And also remember, as you level up from every single numerical rank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you always get an engram, which will give you a piece of gear, which if you like it, cool. If you don't, you can break it down for materials. You might get a chance for a core at that one. And also just by opening the engram, you might get a chance for a core there. But the reason this one ranks much higher above like random weapon parts, dismantling gear, Iron Banner, Gambit Reputation is because this is a playlist that is PvE, and most of the ones I'm going to show you are going to be match made. So a solo player can jump in there and all you're going to do is just try and finish the strike, which isn't overly difficult. And you don't really have like a loss that's going to hurt your reputation. And the longer you stay in the playlist, you're actually going to be earning more reputation. So you can't really lose this thing. You can't have your reputation earning like have a dramatic difference between a win and a loss. So overall, this is a very consistent reputation grind. And I think this, in my opinion, at least belongs at number 5. All right, so number 4 is going to be a combination, and that's basically PvP reputation, but you've got a couple different pools. When you play any Crucible, you have Lord Shax over in the other part of the tower, and he's going to have a reputation system that works exactly the way Vanguard and Gambit do. They look exactly the same. That's pretty straightforward. But the difference is, over here we have Trials, and then if you actually consider the competitive playlist, that's another option for the Glory reputation. Hopefully that gets reworked at some point, that's another discussion. But Trials, when it is active on the weekends, now allows for solo players to queue in. And what you're going to want to do is by the passage of wealth, so any match, whether it's win or loss, will give you more reputation towards your rank. And as you get wins, you're going to be getting more reputation throughout the weekend. If you can solo accumulate some wins on your card, then you'll be getting more reputation the more wins you have accumulated on that card. And basically what you want to look out for and notice is as you play Trials of Osiris, you're going to be getting reputation for Saint 14, which has got some really good rewards. Even here at rank 7, you've got 3 prisms, you've got a couple really good weapons. First time through, you're going to have another shard. Trials is actually very good for the reputation ranks, and also the armor is worth putting the engrams to for high stats. Weapons are desirable. Very good reputation ranks here for a lot of good gear. But also as you play Trials, you're still playing Crucible. So every match you play, you're also getting reputation towards just the Crucible ranking system at Lord Shax. So one playlist, Trials of Osiris, can get you reputation to some of the best gear that's going to come from the game, which is this PvP stuff we've got here, and also help you up your reputation in Crucible at the same time. So while Vanguard is easier, you're going to have some wins and losses in Crucible. The fact that you can do one playlist, 2 birds with 1 stone, and the loot that you can get from Trials especially is what I think puts this one at number 4. And don't forget, use that ghost. You got a chance to get some better stuff in there as well. So overall, Trials/Crucible combined reputation for me is number 4 because it's 2 playlists/2 birds with 1 stone. Efficiency, I think, is pretty high on this one. Number 3 is going to be Legend and Master Lost Sectors. They both give you a chance at enhancement cores. Now, if you do this with 1 or 2 other people, you're going to be grinding these Lost Sectors out very, very quickly, and you're going to be getting basically probably at least 1 core from the chest generally. Maybe not always, but most of the time you'll be getting a core. If you get comfortable enough to do them solo, then you'll actually be able to start earning the exotics as well. But if you have 1 or 2 other people in here especially, or you can do them solo, you're going to be burning through Lost Sectors very quickly at Legend difficulty, and then if you get comfortable, the solos will let you get cores and possibly exotics, double benefit for both. So overall, this is a great playlist to hit up once you feel comfortable solo or with a group. They're really fast farms for those enhancement cores. So number 2, the easiest ones, the only reason it's not ranked at number 1 is just the fact that you are capped at 4, and that is right here at your daily bounties. You're going to get decent experience, and all you have to do, calibrate hand cannons against any target. Literally use a hand cannon to shoot something. PvE or PvP, it doesn't matter. Same thing with sidearms, machine guns, use solar weapons, and this rotates every day. You get 2 mod components, so if you're still like a newer player and you're trying to buy all those different mods that you see, these are also something you must do every day for those mod components. But 4 enhancement cores just for using weapons and all the other activities you're going to do. Do not forget, pick these daily bounties up, these 4 every single day. Now, if you still need mod components, you can do the additional bounties, but the enhancement cores only come from the dailies. So these 4 dailies are a must for enhancement cores. Don't forget about them. Do them every day. We are finally at number 1, and again, remember this list is my opinion. If you prefer to grind them somewhere else, that's up to you. But for me, the easiest way to make the most efficient use of your time for all these materials that we're going for is in the Nightfall playlist. And specifically, it's going to be at hero difficulty because you can do this as a solo player. I'll cover groups in a second. But as a solo player, you are match made. Dealing with champions is not that bad with 3 people, especially at 1290. The difficulty is not even that high. So the strikes usually average about 10 minutes unless you get the corrupted and nobody knows what to do. But there's a joke in there somewhere. But you have a rare chance at exotics. Don't expect them, but they're every so often. Enhancement cores. I've had like 3 or 4 cores drop from 1 strike. In 10 minutes to get 3 or 4 cores, you're not going to beat that for efficiency. You have a chance at prisms. And then also don't forget about the ghosts. Set that up for Vanguard, so when you're killing bosses or, you know, mini bosses, you get a chance to get either cores or prisms, depending on how you set up your ghost. But prisms are going to be rare, but you can see those drop every so often from there. You're going to be getting your reputation while you spend some time in these Nightfalls. And you also get a chance at the Nightfall specific weapons, which everybody tends to want a good roll on those as well. So you've got a chance at exotics and weapons, which everybody tends to want. And the materials that you're going for, cores are common, prisms are rare. Set up your ghost to be even more efficient towards those materials. And honestly, hero level Nightfalls, easy to grind, about 10 minutes each. And honestly, probably your best grind for materials that I can think of in this entire game, especially as a solo player. Now, to add one more piece to that, I do want to mention the higher difficulties. If you play a lot of strikes and you want to go for the higher grind, have things be more challenging, you do need to find other players. So you're going to need to look on like LFG sites if you've got friends, Discord clans, anything like that. But if you can get into these higher difficulty Nightfalls, now you're going to see exotics and Nightfall weapons are common. Prisms are going to be uncommon. Usually you get 1 or 2. And especially if you find a week where Nightfalls are on double rewards, you're going to be seeing a lot of materials drop. And if you're really willing, you've grinded out some Pinnacle gear, your artifacts at a decently high level later in a season, and you want to look for some friends to run with, or even just some people on LFG to run Master Nightfalls, you can definitely get all of these things right here. Common, common, uncommon, common. Most of this stuff is going to drop fairly readily. If you find this on a double rewards week, you are going to be rolling in loot on any of these difficulties for double. But if you want to go to that next level and you have some other people to playlist, Legend and Master will get you that next tier of materials. But as a solo player, Hero's still the most accessible and just easy to do. If you've got that group and you're willing, these are definitely worth the grind every so often. Maybe not all the time, but every so often when you need them. One last thing to touch on, because this is a consumable you may not realize is there or what to do with, or honestly have forgotten about. Finest Matter Weave. If you pop one of these and then you're in an activity and you kill a boss, you're going to get an enhancement core like 95% of the time, I feel like. And if you have 10 of these, you're in the strike playlist. Every time you kill a boss and you see an enhancement core pop up, it's probably because this thing got used. Go ahead and pop another one. Next boss you kill, you should be good to go. So you should never have a stack as big as I do. I just have honestly forgot about them. But every time you see one of these in your inventory, pop it. It stays active until it gets used, and it's a quick way to get you a quick core. So don't forget about these. Use them if you've got them. And that really does wrap this one up. So hopefully this guide is going to help you, whether you're new, old, returning, veteran player, to be able to grind for all those currencies that you need for leveling up your gear, your weapons, and your armor. If you did find this video beneficial, please drop a like below. If there's anything I may have forgot or any tweaks to this information, throw that in the comments, or even if you just want to say hello, I'll try and say hello back. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it is at Ebontis. For streaming, you'll find me on twitch.tv/Ebontis, or potentially right here on YouTube, I stream as well. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. And if you guys want to support me directly, you can join the channel as a member after you subscribed, or you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below. Thank you all very much. Thanks Raid Shadow Legend for the sponsor on this video. Have yourselves a good one.